What's up? What's up? What's up? We are just getting ready to go live here. Just getting this stuff ready to go. Then we're going live. GimbaDocs.com. There we go. What's up, guys? We're going live here. I'm just getting set up. We're going to be talking about a couple different things. We're going to be talking about systems. Yeah, we're going to be talking about systems, and we're going to be talking about some head trash too. Happy Monday. 1 second. Getting something set up here. And then we're ready to rock and roll. If you got questions for me, go ahead and throw them in the comments. All right. Cool. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm getting like this flimmy phlegm stuff in my throat. Let me take a drink. All right, guys. So if you don't listen to the podcast, you should. I don't really know what you're waiting on, but it's the Hammer and Grind podcast on all your favorite podcast players. Can you guys hear me on Facebook okay? Let me, if you guys can hear me on Facebook, give me a thumbs up or a 1 in the comments or something. I'm using a lapel mic this time instead of my microphone. So I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. It's not too distant before we get too far into it. So where are we at? Systems. Podcast, that's where we're at. So if you don't follow me on my podcast, you should. I put so much information in there. I have 114 episodes on everything related to business for your contracting business. If you're not a contractor, you probably shouldn't listen to it. Probably won't be that much value to you. But yeah, so today I had dropped the podcast this morning, had Tom Hughes with GimbaDocs on the podcast talking about creating systems. And he's owned multiple businesses. I think he had a business that he sold, exited for like $200 million one time, and he's created a QR code SOP system, and should definitely go check it out. And really, if you're any type of business, it doesn't matter, like using QR codes, creating Kanbans for SOP are extremely valuable. But he was on episode number 113. It dropped this morning, how to creating killer SOP systems with Tom Hughes from GimbaDocs. You guys on Facebook, I'm going to throw a banner in here that you guys can check out later on. But this is the website, GimbaDocs.com. And if you guys want to check that out, use promo code HG10 to get a 10% discount. So GimbaDocs is really just a QR system. You take a QR code, you print it out, you stick it on whatever you want to create a process for, and then you can create either videos or pictures. On the back end, you upload it to the computer, and you can create like a step-by-step process or a video. I think they're limited to 30 seconds so that you don't over create, and that's on purpose. You got to break it up into sections, and then you can just simply and easily implement a SOP in your business. And on the podcast, I even said this, and this is a very basic example, but it's so super powerful. So like, you know, if you hire say you hire a greenhorn, 20-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid, maybe even a 16-year-old in the summertime, but you know, you want them to hook up a trailer to your truck. Very basic thing, right? But if you've never hooked up a trailer before, it's foreign to you. You don't know how to do it. It's not intuitive. And so you can simply take a QR code, stick it on the trailer, on the tongue, or somewhere near where that process is going to be used. And all they got to do is take a cell phone and with their regular camera, and they take a picture of the QR code, and up pops a video, a 30-second video of you explaining how to hook up the trailer, right? Put the chains here, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. Now the process has been created, and it never has to be taught again. And so, you know, a lot of times, like, we all have our little, you know, weird idiosyncrasies about things. Like, I like to cross my chains on the trailer, right? Some people don't. Some people want to do straight, whatever floats your boat. But if I want everyone to cross the chains and I don't have a sticker on there or a QR code that explains it, then every time I go to hook up a trailer, or if I have, little Johnny hook up a trailer, he doesn't know. He doesn't. Sometimes he crosses, sometimes he doesn't. It's always different, right? And I got to go teach him, hey, Johnny, you got to cross the chains. Oh, yeah, sorry, boss, I forgot, right? Whatever. So you have the sticker. You're like, Johnny, go hook up the trailer. I've never done it before, boss. All you got to do is scan the code, Johnny. All right, Johnny goes, scans the code. You go out there 5 minutes later, you get ready to take off. You check it. Everything's hooked up perfect. Now you just saved yourself, 5 minutes of frustration. And every single time you hire someone, you have to train them how to do that stuff. Not anymore. You just create a simple QR code SOP and you're done. And this can go on forever. Like, you could have thousands of QR codes all over the place. You can even use QR codes to create Kanban systems for inventory. So maybe you have a inventory in your, maybe you're a plumber and you keep, inventory on your van. You can just create a little QR code, stick it on the front of the box or the bin where it's at. And once you're out of that item in your van, you can scan it and then use it as a Kanban reordering code. So you go in there and say, hey, this needs to be reordered. Now, if you're the one-man show, like, you're going to know that, but you can literally create your own process. But if you're not a one-man show and you have employees, they can create that. Boom. Hey, we're out of, whatever, half-inch angle stop, 90-degree angle stops. It sends a message to your office and instantly they know they need more of those. Like, you can make the systems of your business super easy, but for some reason we make systems so freaking hard. Like, we want to overcomplicate it. And I know, because I've created a lot of systems and I've had lots of frustration creating them. So Michael says SOPs also protect you from lawsuits. Never thought about that. That is a great point. If you have an SOP, I guess I'm thinking of it from like the trailer, hooking up a trailer. If he hooks it up wrong and you have an SOP there, and then trailer comes off, kills somebody, whatever, there's a lawsuit, potentially you could say, hey, the employee didn't follow the SOP. I know that's a rare case, but I could see where that could definitely come in handy. For sure, you need SOPs around certain things. Using a table saw, right? How do you use a table saw? I had one employee cut his finger with the table saw, and he cut it about, I don't know, it's probably a 1/4 inch deep into his finger and the blade width. So he literally had like a chunk of a blade out of the tip of his finger. I had to take him to the emergency room. Another employee, my lead guy, had to take him to the emergency room. So I'm down 2 guys on one job for half a day because of that. Simple SOP on how to use the table saw safely could have prevented that. So no questions in yet. Can you guys hear me on there? Did anybody say yet? Nobody said on Facebook. There's 6 people on Facebook, or 5 people on Facebook, 1 on Hammer and Grind Facebook, and nobody put a 1 in. So I guess you guys can't hear me. So that's cool. If you guys have any questions about systems, throw them in the comments. We'll talk about them. I want to talk about systems and I want to talk about mindset. Jeremy, all right. Can you hear me okay though, Jeremy? I'm using a lapel. I want to make sure that a lapel mic. I want to make sure okay. Thank you so much. So yeah. So here's the thing about systems. This is the number one thing I hear. I say, what do you need help with in your business? People, I like post in my group. What do you need help with in your business? What's the number one thing? Systems. I need systems. Right? That's what I hear like almost constantly is systems. And like, what kind of systems? And they say estimating systems. So I'm like, okay, this is the most common thing that contractors want, is an estimating system. If you're going to build your own system, like Excel spreadsheets and all of that stuff, you'll probably never do it. And the reason is because you're trying to create an entire process that runs, that your business is dependent upon. And the thought of doing that is like, this is going to take me a week of sitting behind a computer for 8 hours a day, creating this so-called system so that I can estimate better. And that just seems like a complete waste of time. right? Like that's like the most common kind of thing I hear. And the way you create systems is by doing tiny little chunks. You don't create the entire system from start to finish. You create tiny pieces of the system. And then eventually the tiny pieces make up the overall system. So like for estimating. Now, if you're doing lots of estimating and you're more than, and you have employees, like you're not just a one-man show, and really even if you are a one-man show, I still would recommend it, although it's more expensive. But you should be using some type of CRM or some type of estimating software. Unless you're doing something very basic, like maybe you're just you just install flooring, or you're a painter where you're just doing one simple task and it's a very simple process. Anything that's like remodeling, landscaping, large projects, general contracting, where it's multiple parts moving, you should be using a software to do the estimating for you, because it's not really feasible to build your own. And these softwares out there will make your life so much easier. But let's just say that you're going to build your own, right? Well, the first thing you would do is you just say, okay, part of the estimating system, like what are the steps of the estimating system? Like what are the different steps? You just sit down and you say, all I'm going to do today is write out all of the different, like not steps, but like pieces of it. Like, because estimating means a lot of different things. Is it the on-site visit, right? I go out to the house, I look at the property and I look at it. That would be one part of the process, the on-site visit. Is it writing, actually creating the estimate, like physically doing it? That could be another one. Is there a pre-qualification process, or do you consider the sales part of it as part of the system? Like you would break down the different things of the system, right? Like that would be you just break this down and say, today, all I'm going to do is spend about 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to list out all of the different parts of the estimating process that I want to create a system for. And you just break it down. So day one, you list out whatever, 5-10 steps, right? The parts. Then you could say day two, okay, I'm going to take the first one, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down everything that I think that would take place in that. So maybe the first part of your estimating system is going to the job site. Maybe you don't consider sales as part of it. You consider the estimating process starts when you get to the customer's property. Then you would just write down the steps of that. What are the steps that have to happen? Well, I got to measure, right? I got to take pictures. I got to talk to the customer. I got to make selections or whatever it might be. I'm just making stuff up here. You would just write down the steps that need to happen, right? And then you do that the next day. You pick the next part of that estimating, and you break it down again. All I'm doing is breaking it down into manageable, bite-sized chunks of time to be able to do this. Because if you think you're going to sit down and do it from start to finish, it's not going to happen. You're going to get frustrated. But here's the thing that happens. If you say, I'm just going to spend 30 minutes working on this, a lot of times what happens is that once you start, you won't want to stop. Like you'll get the juices flowing. You'll start writing. You're like, oh man, that only took me 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. And before you know it, you might spend an hour or two deep in deep work, and you've knocked out a huge chunk of the system already. Right? And then if you just plan that out in a week or two or whatever it is you're doing, you'll have it done. And you can do it in bite-sized chunks. Here's the thing too about systems. You're going to create a first rough draft. Anytime you're doing it, you're creating a first rough draft. You're not creating the final product from the very beginning. Most software companies, that when they create a new software, they get to minimum viable product status. So they basically code it so that it's the very basic use of whatever they're trying to accomplish, and then they release it. They'll release it at a discount or for free because they want to get feedback. They want to work out the bugs. They want to get some revenue in, and they may release it, for like say $20 a month. And then they start getting some revenue. They start getting feedback. Hey, we need this feature. We need this. They start working on it. They build it up. They make it better. They make it better. They tweak it. They get feedback. They make it better. They tweak it. They get feedback. They make it better. And then they release version 2 of it, 3 months later. And it's like, hey, here's version 2. We added these features. They do it again. They repeat it. It may take them a year. It may take them 2 years. But eventually that product that started as just one viable product now has 30 different products tied in, and it's now $150 a month for that product, right? So what I'm saying is that companies that rely 100% on systems like software, they don't even try to create it from scratch, and you shouldn't either. You create a first rough draft, then you deploy it in your business and see what happens, right? This is my estimating process. Okay, here's my next project. I'm going to implement my estimating process. Let's pretend this is my estimating book. It's got my plan on here, my estimating plan. I got a checklist I made and everything. I go out, I visit with the customer. I go through my steps, and halfway through meeting with the client, I go back out to my truck. When I get done, I'm like, oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot on here to do X. And you take out your pen and you write it in there. And then when you get back to the shop the next day or whatever, you add that to your process. And then you do that again, and you do it again. And you keep doing it until you can replicate the process completely without any hiccups, without missing something, without forgetting something, whatever. And once you've done that, 10, 20 times, then it's probably a good process that you can basically turn it into a final draft. It's a living document, guys. Systems are living documents. It's not a once and done, because new technology changes, new ways of doing things change. Everything's always changing. But if you do this, then it will help you to remove a lot of these time-wasting things that suck your life. Like you just have this level of frustration that's crazy because you're wasting time doing the same little step over and over again. It blows my mind. I've made it a life mission for me personally to not do things over and over again that frustrate me. So if something frustrates me, I'll let it frustrate me for about a week or two, and then I'll take action to fix it. Because I call them micro frustrations. This is the term that I made up. At least I believe I made it up. Micro frustrations, little bitty things that happen all day long that we just put up with because it may only frustrate us for 2 seconds, it may only frustrate us for 10 seconds or 30 seconds. And it's like, oh, that's so frustrating. And then we just go on, we forget about it, we go about our day. And the next day you do it again. Oh, it's so frustrating. One of these days I'm going to fix it. And we go through like a year of doing that. And we're like, we just put up with it. And you have all these little micro frustrations. You may have 30 micro frustrations every single day that you let go. And all it does is contribute to your overall frustration of running a business. Scott says, I still want you to be my therapist. Yeah, man. So you fix it, even if it's small. I remember in my house, this was several years ago, we bought a Keurig coffee machine. This is when they were somewhat popular coming out. And you got all the little K-cups, and where do you freaking store the K-cups? They have always different organizers and crap places you can store them. And I bought one of those, rectangle ones that have springs, like 7 slots that are spring loaded. And we bought one of those, and where our coffee machine is, it's right next to the stove and the refrigerator. So it's only like 24 inches of counter space. There's just not a lot. You can't lay it down. It just doesn't work. And I'd always get so frustrated every time making coffee. Every single morning, I get frustrated dealing with this stupid little K-cup dispenser and my little stir straws, because I don't like using spoons. So I'd go buy stir straws. I know I'm weird. Anyways, finally, I just said, screw it. And I built a little wooden cabinet. The K-cup insert slides right in there, and I mounted it to the bottom of the cabinet, holds my stir straws right up next to it, and it's right above the coffee machine. So when I go get coffee, I, open the thing. I reach not even, here's the top of the lid. It just clears it. I grab my K-cup. I stick it in. I move it like 30, like 6 inches to get it in there. Some of you may say that's like way over the top, Brad. Like that's OCD over the top. Maybe, but it eliminated the frustration of dealing with the stupid K-cups, and I never had to deal with it again. And it made making coffee in the morning super easy and not frustrating for me. So I fixed a situation that was bugging me, right? That was a micro frustration. Those things happen in your business all the time. And your employees have them too. Your employees may have micro frustrations with things that you put in place that makes your job easier in the office, but it makes their job more difficult in the field. I was reading a book one time, and I can't remember the name of the book, but it was talking about systems. And this guy was a consultant, and he went into this company that had service guys out in the field. It was like maintenance type stuff, like I don't know if it was like a elevator repair company or something. It wasn't really construction, but it was some type of service business. And they created this software, a fleet management software, to manage the stuff out in the field. And they found out that none of the guys wouldn't fill it out. And when they went and inspected it, they realized that like the fleet management, from the office standpoint, it was asking all of the questions that they wanted answers to. It was tracking everything, right? But from the field perspective, it was like 6 pages of information that had to be filled out. And on top of that, because of the system it was built on, it was really slow and sluggish. And so like if they they fill out the first page and they hit next, it would take like a minute or two to load the next page. Now you can imagine if you're out in the field trying to get to the next work order and you got to spend 15 minutes waiting for page loads, like you're just going to say, screw it, I'm not going to do it. And that's exactly what happened. So sometimes we think it's great that we're creating all of these processes in-house in the office to control the field techs, but all we're doing is adding frustrations to them to make our job easier. And so when you're implementing systems like this out in the field, you really need to get your techs or whoever's going to be completely affected by this in on the system creation process. So if you're trying to create a system for, I don't know, inventory, how are you going to inventory? Maybe you got 6 guys out in the field and you have an inventory. You go to them and say, guys, listen, here's what we're going to do. A lot of you guys complaining about not having, you get down on jobs, you don't have inventory, making extra trips, blah, blah, blah. We're going to fix it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an inventory system, but I want you guys to help implement it. So somebody's going to take the lead, blah, 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 blah. The next week, I want you to write down 10 ideas that you have about how to solve this problem. Doesn't matter how far-fetched they are or how basic, just write down 10 ideas that you have on how we can create a better inventory system. And if you got 6 guys, you should have 60 different ideas, right? So the next week you meet with them, okay, everybody turns it in. Here's the 60 ideas. You're going to go through them. And, they're going to be a repeat. 6 of them are probably going to say, 2 or 3 are going to be on every one of those. And you start narrowing it down. Like it's just a process, and you involve the people that are going to be using the process instead of you creating the process for them and you're not using it and they are. So anytime you have systems that are going to affect your team, you have your team brought in to help create the system. Let me pause there and go back to some of these comments. Ryan says he's having luck with House Call Pro. That's a pretty good one. TreeWorks a bit complicated for an estimate system. Not really though. You can systematize anything. Like literally anything can be systematized. Did I miss one? Did you ask a question, John Doe? What forms of advertising do you recommend for a new company? John, there's so many things that you can do. If you go listen to my podcast number, where's it at? Number 92. Go listen to podcast episode 92. It's titled 33 Ways to Market Your Business. I can't make it any easier for you than to actually give you the 33 different ways to market your business. Okay. Also, there's another one you can go listen to called episode 60, What I Would Do If I Started a Contracting Business Tomorrow. That's another good one. So episode 60 and episode 92 are both on marketing. Highly recommend you go listen to those podcast episodes. They will answer most of your questions. Before and after collages made into ads for a new company. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What do you do when you estimate for a project but something unexpected happens and they don't want to pay? Roman, that should never happen. Are you like, I don't know this scenario here, but all the estimates would always have an unexpected clause. This price does not, this price does not include any unexpected issues that may come up during the construction process, right? Because we can't see in the walls, we don't have X-ray vision, we don't know stuff that happens. Now, if it's something that happened because of your negligence, then what I would do is I would eat the cost. Contrary to what everybody on TikTok says about me being immoral and not having integrity, I would eat the cost, right? Because that's the right thing. But if it's something, you open a wall, there's termite damage, all of the lumber, the wall, everything's destroyed, it's going to add an extra $5,000 worth of work. The work stops that second. You contact the client and say, listen, we got a major problem. Here's what's going on. Now, here's one thing I would recommend. If you run into a problem, the first thing I would do is I would get an estimate from a subcontractor, or I would figure out what it's going to cost to solve that problem. And maybe two variations of it, like the right way to do it, which is going to be the most expensive, and the bare minimum to get you by, but still be within code and be safe. That would be the less expensive. Like I would probably create two different options. If I need contractors, depending on the complexity and everything, I'm going to try and get that information ahead of time so I can present it to the customer and have all the information. Okay. That's not always possible. They may be home when it happens. And so you're just going to be like, hey, Susan, can you come in here for a second? We got a problem. Right. But you're going to figure it out. You're going to open it up. You're going to expose it. You're going to get the price and you're going to tell the customer, listen, this is what's going on. We can't go any further until we address this problem. And here's the cost. It's $5,000. That is, well, is there any other way? No, unfortunately, like this is the only thing we can do. There's no other way to do it. We can't finish. We can't do anything else until it's fixed. It's $5,000 to fix it. Here's a change order for the $5,000. This is what it's going to cost. If they say, no, we're not going to do it, then the process stops and you're going to have to leave the job until you figure it out, right? That's what you do. If they approve the change order, you get the payment for the full amount of the change order right then. You don't start the process until the change order is paid in full. Now, if it's a weird situation where it's going to add like $20,000 in 3 weeks of time, then you may not collect the full amount up front, but you're going to collect some kind of money from that. I would, at the very minimum, would be 50%. That's a rare case. Usually it's only, usually change orders, unless you're building like a major multi-million-dollar building, usually change orders are going to be a few $100s to a few $1,000s, and that's just paid in full at the time of the change order. You don't do anything until the change order is signed by the customer and by the contractor or any subcontractors that you may have. The money's collected, and then you go about your day. If you do that, you won't have problems with people not paying. Ryan, if you got somebody, just drop his name in the free group. Not on the page. in the Contractor Profit Blueprint, just make a post and just say, hey, this is a marketing guy I've been using, if anybody's interested. Yeah, you're more than welcome to do that. Does that help, Roman? Because that's how you do it, guys. And I get it. You're under a time crunch. You want to get this done on Friday so you can start a new job on Monday, or you're already behind schedule. You don't want to go further behind schedule. They're at work and you can't contact them during working hours. You can only email them, and it's only a few $100. Hey, just go ahead and get it done because it's 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you stop, then you're going to be out of work for the rest of the day. Like, I get it. All that stuff happens, but you have to be disciplined to stop the process, get a change order, and move on. Now, there's different things. Like, I use Progil. I use Progil for construction management software, and it has a phenomenal change order. I can literally pull up my phone, type out an entire change order right there, and I could text it or email it to the customer, and they can approve it right there on the spot. Digitally, they can sign it. Like, I can do all that from my phone or a tablet or whatever. So there's different softwares that make it easier. Of course, it depends on what you do, but you got to be disciplined in not trying to shortcut it. Are there times where you can? Sure. If I run into a problem and it's like $150, and I'm like, well, I don't, worst case scenario, they don't pay it, whatever, I'm out $150. But I don't have that problem with clients. I should say I didn't have that problem with clients because I would screen every person I worked for. If I thought I was going to have any issues with you whatsoever, I would not do the work for you. And one little thing on that, I saw a thing here. It says it sounds like the contract isn't very good. That's very possible. If you think that you're going to control your clients through a contract, you're very, very, very mistaken. I can't tell you how many times I see people, contractors, posting in Facebook groups, on other groups that I'm in. Hey, I got this problem, guys. I verbally told a person this and that, and then they won't pay me now. Now they owe me $27,000. What can I do? And it's like, how do you get yourself into these positions, guys? Seriously, how do you get yourself into these positions? The contract is there to just back up everything that you've communicated, because you should have communicated everything that's in your contract before you ever sign the contract. But some contractors suck, and I mean absolutely suck, at communicating. And so therefore they hide behind the contract and they hope the contract does all the talking for them because they don't want to do the talking. They put a little clause in there that says, something stupid like, I don't know, like all payments have to be made by 5 p.m. on Friday, or you're going to be assessed a $500 penalty, something stupid like that. And then they give the 7-page contract to their clients to sign it, which they're not going to read all 7 pages because people don't read freaking contracts. And they sign it. And then they don't pay you on a Friday by 5 p.m. And then you automatically give them a $500 fee. And they're like, what the fuck is this? Why are you charging me $500 for it? And you go, well, it's in the contract. It's in the contract right there. Page 6, paragraph 27, subclause 2. It says you have to pay by 5 p.m. on Friday or it gets assessed a $500 penalty. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, seriously, what? I don't understand it. I did over 2,500 jobs, and over half of those jobs, I didn't even have a contract. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying I didn't have a contract. They were either too small of a job or I didn't know any better to have a contract. But I didn't have problems because I actually communicated with clients and understood the relationship side of it. You guys that get in trouble with clients all the time are like, oh, client's not paying me money and this and that. It's like, yeah, but how did you communicate that? What was the relationship like that you had with your clients? Was it just a transactional thing where you're like, oh yeah, I can do it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do it. Just sign here. Yeah. And then later on you have problems. That's on you. That's on you as the contractor for not communicating clearly. I had, like I said, I did over 2,500 jobs for over 900 customers. And I can count on, well, for sure two hands, but I'm pretty sure one hand, the number of clients that didn't pay me. And the largest amount that never paid was $2,700. That was the single largest amount. Most of the time it was like $150 here, $300 there, $500 there. But it's all communications, guys. It's not contracts. The contracts don't do the talking for you. Jeremy says foots have a contract. Contract is a guiding document for both parties to follow, so process is smooth and documented. I don't know what foots means. I don't know what you mean by foots have a contract. Is that you or what? I'm old school. Like, I'm still a handshake kind of guy, right? Like, that's how I would want to do work, but I'm not ignorant and stupid. I still do contracts. But my estimates were one page. Like, my clauses, all of the clauses that I have in my contract are they fit this much of a 8x11 sheet of paper. That's it. I have like 7 clauses and that's it. And almost never had problems with people because I didn't work for people that I didn't want to work for, that I thought were going to be a pain in the butt. And I learned how to communicate effectively. So that, like, having all of these contracts that have 18 different clauses, it's not necessary. Now, if you're doing commercial or industrial, that's a different animal. But if you're doing residential, you don't need huge contracts that you hide behind. Guys, it's just about communicating. It's just about learning how to communicate with people effectively. People, whenever you have a problem with a customer, it's because they either feel like they were, what's the word I'm looking for? They were cheated, like they feel like you cheated them or lied to them, right? Or they feel like you didn't, man, my brain's not working today. You didn't value them as a customer. That's what I'm trying to say. They either think you cheated or lied to them somehow, or you didn't value them as a customer. And that can show up in 100 different ways. But if you're like dismissing them, if they go, hey, Brad, I got a problem. I got a concern over here about this, this paint on the wall. I'm not an expert, but it doesn't look right. And you're like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We'll make it right. It's just a first coat. We'll make it right. And you're just kind of like dismissing them. Even if what you said is true, if they feel like you're dismissing them or talking down to them, they're going to get pissed. Right? And then that's going to happen to where they start looking for more stuff. It's always about communication. Sometimes I go on these tirades. Just have a change order mentioned up front. You need an estimate, include unexpected. Yeah. That's one clause you should have in your estimate contract. This estimate does not include any unforeseen issues that may arise. Something to that effect, you need to have it in there. And by also hire an attorney to write your contract, but tell them you want it to fit on one page. These customers are stuck on they can't pay extra, and I'm in the middle of then you stop project. You stop the work, Roman. You say, totally understand, you can't pay it. Let me know when you're done. Like, sometimes you have to step away, even if it's going to cost you more money. But I can tell you what will never work. I can tell you this 100% certainty. If they're not willing to pay you for the changes, they're not going to pay you at the end of the job when it's done. They may tell you just finish the job and then we'll pay you. That's a lie. If they're not willing to pay for the changes, don't think that you finishing the job is going to make them feel compelled to now pay you because all of a sudden you finished it. No. If there's red flags now, you stop work until it's taken care of. And you have the difficult conversation with them. Don't hide behind text messages, emails, and contracts. Go to them in person or talk to them on the phone. Have the difficult conversation with them. Hey, Jeremy, you might want to take that down, dude. It's got your address on there. I would take that off Facebook, or at least that part. Make an indecisive clause. See that? I don't think you need that, DB Wolfdorf. You don't need an indecisive clause. You really don't. That's a communication issue. You really inspired me about constructing pricing. I'm glad to hear that, Scott. Just signed up for my contracting license today. Awesome. Taking a 6 weeks course. That sounds crazy. Join my free group. Isaiah, join my free Facebook group. I got lots of stuff in there. See you, Scott. You're probably already gone. What are your thoughts on Angie's List? Don't do it. Yep, Angie's List horrible. Don't do any pay for leads, guys. Angie's List, Thumbtack, any of those, they all suck. The only paying for leads you should do is like Google, either Google Guaranteed or Google pay-per-click or Facebook ads. But don't pay for lead gen sources. They suck. All they're good at is taking your money. Are there some services and industries that can work? Yeah, but it's very finicky. You're going to pay a lot of money, and you got to be able to do it right. Most people don't have that capability. I see you on here talking a lot about work. When do you actually do some work? Kevin, I don't have my construction business anymore. I do coaching full time. Yeah, Duncan or Farrell Built says I've had $40,000 change orders paid in full up front. That's the way you do it. What is the name of the software program? I'm not sure. I'm behind on the comment. Yeah, Jeremy, that's cool. I appreciate it. I wouldn't put your name on there is what I'm saying, your address. That's all I'm saying. You can leave the rest of it, just take your address out of it. I don't think you want to dox yourself. The software, Progul is one that I used. Progul, Projul. If you go to progul.com/hammer and grind, hammer or and is spelled out, hammer and grind, or progul.com/hammer and grind, you can get $100 credit. A good cheap software like that is Zoho. It's pretty cool. Here's the thing about software too, guys. Like, there's so many out there. There's so many options. You got to find one that works for you. Don't just take my recommendation. There's lots of them out there. You got to find one that works for you. Do the trial period. Actually use it. But here's the thing about software that people don't understand. If you're going from paper to software, you're going to have about, I don't know, 80 to 100 hours invested in figuring out how to use that software. You're not just going to, buy the subscription, download the software or log in and everything's fixed. Like, you're going to have to go in and learn it, and you're going to have to go in and put all of the information for your business in there. There's no shortcut around it. You have to do it, and it's an investment. Like, it's not only an investment financially, it's a mental investment, it's a time investment, because you're going to use it and it's going to take a while to figure it out. And everybody on your team is going to take them a while to figure it out. So if you have like 7 employees and you're going from a paper system to a digital, I mean, you're going to spend a few $1,000s easily on training, trying to get your team up to speed on it. And you just have to accept that as part of it. Appreciate you guys sending stuff. Farrell Belt, you've been sending me all kinds of things. Not sure if he's referring to, but Street Invoice or Zoho isn't bad. Yeah, there's lots of them out there, guys. There's so many out there. Let's see what else we got here. I had so many problems in the past because of poor communication. Yeah, Farrell Bill's talking about problems. He's one of my clients, and he went through, and now he's killing it in his business. But he'll tell you, like he just said, like, usually when you have problems with customers, it's the contractor's communication. It's not construction. It's usually the contractor. And he learned how to effectively communicate. And now he's actually killing it in his business. Chin Fu, not quite Chin Fu. Should be Shin Fu, but not quite. Everything you're saying is great advice. Yeah, Shin Fu is very, very similar to what I teach. It's not the same though. Beast Mode, thank you, appreciate it. Job Tread has been working. Yeah, Job Tread is another great one that I recommend. Cost Certified is a kind of an estimating software. It's a pretty good one. Projo is my favorite. Job Tread is also a good one. Somebody on Facebook says Contractor, or what is it? I remember the name, but I forgot. House Call Pro, that's another good one. It really depends on what you do. Some of them are better suited for different trades, right? Like if you're going to build homes, if I was a home builder, I would probably use Builder Trend. Jeremy, Joyce is really too basic for me. Like for what you do, I would not use Joyce. It's too basic, but it depends on what your needs are. That's why I said, like, there is no one software out there, guys, that will solve 100% of what you want it to do. Even Projo has its limitations. And so you sign up for Projo and there's like 15% that it doesn't do that you want it to do. And you find another software that has the 15% that you want it to do. So you switch only to find out that there's another 15% that it doesn't do that Projo used to do. And then you get into this switching process where you keep switching because you think you're going to find the perfect software that does everything for you. It doesn't happen. That's a unicorn. If I had $1 million, multi-millions of dollars in the bank, I would create my own software. And even then, it probably wouldn't solve all the problems because every business is unique. I could take 20 different painting companies that just do interior painting, and I could find 20 different design needs based on the owner and how they do things. And that's just one trade, right? Because everybody does things differently. Jay says, I had my lights for almost a year, having time getting credited accounts. Are you talking about like Lowe's and credit cards and builders accounts? Is that what you're talking about? If you're talking about those, what I would do is I would go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, any of the big box stores that you have, and apply there because they're pretty easy to get. And then I would go to your local mom and pop places and apply there because a lot of those would not, they don't do background checks because they're mom and pops. They'll just give you like a low dollar amount, like $5,000, right? And then you just use it for a while, make sure you pay the bill every single month. And then after about 3 months or 4 months, you go in there and say, hey, can I get a credit increase? If that's what you're talking about. Okay, we're caught up. Jeremy, your subs use it. That's cool. I mean, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but your subs are like one specific trade, right? Like for you as a remodeler, like I wouldn't want to use Joyce. But that's just because I'm more of I'm a tech guy. So I enjoy the more features that are available using tech. I got a buddy of mine that is he's a roofer, and he builds homes for himself, and he still does stuff on paper, and he does like multi-millions a year in business, and it's all on paper. So you don't have to have technology, but it does make it a lot easier. Yeah, you're using job trend, I think you meant. I have a great background and great credit. Wholesalers and mom and pops only get, yeah, they have to, man. I know, I understand that. When I first got started, I went to Lowe's, and I love Lowe's and buying tools, and they go, here you go, here's $1,000 credit. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I can't even buy a freaking 2x4 with this, right? But that's just what you got to do, and you got to build it up. Like nobody's going to say, oh, you just started your business. Here's $100,000 of credit. Nobody's going to do that. So you have to go to the mom and pops, get the 2,500, max it out. Like seriously, go max out the 2,500 and then pay it off like a week later or at the end of the month. And then do that for a couple months and then go to them and say, look, I want to buy more materials. Like my jobs are $20,000 and all I could spend here is $2,500. I'm maxing it out each month and I can't get anywhere. So what it's forcing me to do is go to your competitors and buy stuff. And if you do that, they're not going to be like, oh, okay. Now, that doesn't mean that they're just going to give you a $20,000 limit, but they may go from 2,500 to 5,000, and you do that for a couple more months, and then you just keep building it. Like, that's just business, guys. This idea that you're going to start a business, get a $100,000 line of credit, and do whatever you want and build this multi-million-dollar company does not happen. That's not reality. And you're going to have to personally guarantee it. I tried that. I tried going there and like, hey, I don't want to personally guarantee it. And they'd laugh at you. You haven't even been in business for a year. Ain't nobody on earth going to give you a loan or credit without you personally guarantee it. I mean, you can go online and TikTok and everywhere and all these people like, here's how you can get $50,000 credit. All you got to do is open an LLC in Montana and then buy an off-the-shelf corporation in Idaho. And this is the parent company, and you do this and this and this, and then all of a sudden you can get 50,000. It's like, first of all, they're just trying to sell you something. Second of all, why would you want to go through all that headache? And third of all, like most of the time, you don't even need that money. There's ways around it. Build Zoom. I've never heard of Build Zoom, Jared. I've never heard of that. Appreciate it. Have you taken accounting business classes, or have you learned all this through trial and error? Both. I haven't taken accounting classes. I have taken lots of business classes, like a lot of business classes. But most of it I learned on my own. It's just frustrating when I've COD over 50,000 with company. I get it. I know it's frustrating, but listen, this is where communication is important. You as the owner need to figure out if it's a mom and pop, what's the name of the salesman, or what's the name of the owner? If you can't tell me the name of the salesman or the name of the owner of the company, then you're really not like connected with them, which you should be. That's how you build relationships with people so that you can get that. So if you know Jeff owns the company, right? You go in there and it's like, hey, Jeff, you got a second? I just want to run something by you. He's like, yeah, sure. What's up, man? He's like, look, I know I've been here 3 months, 4 months, 6 months buying stuff from you. You guys gave me $2,500 credit when I started, and I really appreciated it. It helped me to get going. But I can't even, that doesn't even cover 1/4 of the cost of a job that I'm doing. And I want to give you guys the business because you take care of me. But $2,500 ain't going to cut it. Is there any way that we can increase that? Right? Like that's just a person-to-person conversation where I'm actually trying to connect with them and ask them. But like that has to happen. Like that's communication that a lot of contractors like to avoid. What's the worst they're going to say? No, we're not going to raise your credit. We don't raise credit for anybody until they've been in business for a year. Okay. Is there anything I can do to shortcut that process? Nope. That's just our policy. 1 year, and then we'll give you an increase. And what's the increase? Well, we double it. So you'll have a five. So if I wait a year, I only get a $5,000 increase. Yes. Okay. I appreciate that. But just so you know, in the last 6 months, I've bought $100,000 worth of materials, and I bought them from your competitors, not from you. I like you guys, and I want to buy from you, but you make it difficult for me to do that. So I have to buy from your competitors. So I just want you to know that you're giving up $100,000 worth of business in 6 months. I'm making this stuff up because I don't know your numbers. Yes. Yeah, Jace, you got to put in the time. You got to build the relationships, man. The other thing you do is use it against them. Use it against them. When I first started, I went to Lowe's. They gave me $1,000 credit. I was like, this is bullcrap. I went to Home Depot. They gave me a $6,000 credit. I was like, okay, now we can do something. Then I went to Menards, and they wanted to give me like a $5,000 credit. I took it, right? Then after I took it, and I had my account for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I don't remember what it was. Home Depot automatically just gave me a credit increase. Like they raised my credit to like $10,000 or whatever it was. And so I went to Menards and said, look, Home Depot just gave me $10,000. You're only giving me 5. Can we at least match it? And like, yeah. And they gave me like 12,000. Like you can use it against them because those guys want to beat out the other competitors. But that's the big box stores. The local people, I mean, you got to understand from their perspective. Like if you don't pay a $20,000 bill, like that hurts those companies, right? So they're not just going to willy-nilly give that away for free. Abnibeth, I can't even say your name. Best way to cover overhead on invoices. Some clients ask way too many questions. I'm not fully tracking your question. The best way to cover overhead on invoices, they don't need to know the overhead. Here, let me get out my little drawing board for you guys. This is what your estimates and your invoices look like. Hold on. You guys read that? Scope, lump sum price. You don't need to hide anything. Then you have the wrong clients. If your clients combat you on everything, you have the wrong clients. You're fishing in the wrong pond, or you're fishing with the wrong lure. Is this for you guys on TikTok? Is this the right way? Is this correct, or is it backwards? Let me know in the comments if that's the correct way. Jeremy says SBA has some great business loan options. The EIDL, yeah, for sure. They send you free leads. You only pay when the contract is signed. Oh, that's you're talking about Jared and Jeremy. You guys are like, your name's too close. It's messing me up. They also verify your license and list how many permits you pull and the value of those permits. And you can post photos of experience. Is that on Build Zoom? Is that what you're talking about, Jared? That's weird. I personally would never pay for leads like that. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It may work fantastic. I'm just saying, me personally, I would not pay for leads. Okay, cool. That's correct. Yeah, Abnaba, whatever, however you say your name. If they're complaining on price, it's the wrong customer. You have the wrong customers. The only time I include cost and labor is on grant jobs. Yeah, if you're doing like I bid a job one time for the VA. It was $100,000 grant for a couple. Guy had Agent Orange from Vietnam, and I had to break it out like that. You have to hide some of the profit in the line. You have to do that, and you have to hide some of the profit in the line items, because if you just put a 50% gross profit or overhead on there, or gross, whatever profit or gross profit, they won't give you the job. So you have to kind of get creative with how you do that. But when you're working for regular people, it's lump sum. Husband and I just struggle with the amount to add into costs that we break even. Well, that's a different issue. Like if your customers are complaining, then you have the wrong customers. But if you're not charging correctly, it's because if you're having problems like breaking even or making money, you're just not charging enough. So where's my Depending on how you have your business, if you have employees, if your husband's the only one doing the work, if he's a one-man show, if you have subcontractors, it may vary a little bit. But basically, it's your labor cost, right? Your material costs. You take that total times 2. Labor and material times 2. Now, one thing that people do get wrong with the labor is they want to put their overhead into the labor rate, and you shouldn't do that. Your labor comes out of your gross profit. There are multiple ways to do this. This way I'm teaching you is not the only way to do it, but this is the easiest way to do it that will guarantee you the most profit, okay? You can put your overhead into your hourly rate. It just makes things complicated. But your labor is exactly what it costs you to break even. So whatever this total is here, whatever this total is, let's say this is a job and this total is $5,000. Okay? So your labor, let's just make it easy. Labor is $2,500. Materials are $2,500. That's a total of $5,000, right? This dollar amount right here should be break even for the job. Meaning that if you do the job, if you sold the job for $5,000, when the job is over, you would make zero money, and then all of your overhead would come out of $0. So this technically is a break-even price for the job, not for the business. This won't cover any overhead whatsoever. So if you sell it times 2, right? Times 2, that's $10,000. That's what you sell the job for, $10,000. You take the 5,000 cogs out. Now you have $5,000 left, and all of your overhead and all of your profit comes out of the 5,000. That's the easiest way to do it. No employees anymore, too expensive. If you are paid for labor, how are you breaking even? Because your labor is the cost of the labor. That's what I'm saying. Like if I'm a one-man show, right? I have no employees, I just work by myself. Then I can charge a dollar amount, like say $40 an hour, right? Like that's my salary in a sense because I'm the laborer. So if I'm going to do it that way, then the $40 an hour basically pays for my salary, okay? Because I'm a one-man show. Then the profit is just going to cover overhead expenses and then profit for the business, or even bonuses for me. But if you have employees that are on the job working, say you have 5 employees, right? And total, they cost you $250 an hour. If you have 5 employees and their total burden cost is $250 an hour, and you do a 10-hour job, then that's $2,500. So if they do the job and it takes 10 hours, you're paying the employees $2,500, and you're breaking even on the employees. Does that make sense? Yeah, you have the wrong clients, Abnaba. You just have the wrong clients. You need to upgrade your clients. Outdoor living contractor here, 50% gross profit and 50% deposit on every job. Yep, 100%. Yep. All right, guys, we're over a little bit. I got to hop off here, and I appreciate you all hanging out. Yeah, if you're a one-man show, you would treat yourself as an employee, but not if you have employees, unless you work out in the field. If you work out in the field, you should get paid as an owner and then also get paid as a field employee. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Tonight, if you're interested, it's in 2 hours. 2 hours from now, I have a free webinar. It's called How to Get Off the Tools in 2023. So if you're a contractor and you're stuck on the tools and you want to get off, I have a free training tonight that tells you the 3 things that you need to put in place to be able to do that. Completely free. If you're on TikTok, just go to my profile. When you get off this live, just go to my profile or even click on my face right now. The very top button, you can sign up for that. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you guys can go to my Facebook, the free group, and sign up there for it too. Hope to see you on there. And how was my gun comp in Indy? I didn't do great. Appreciate you asking, Derek. I end up, I can't send you the link, Don. I can't send the link. Go to my profile. I had a lot of fun. I had 4 malfunctions. Just a problem I was working through. I ended up at 6th place overall. So I didn't do great, but it was a fun match. So I appreciate you asking. All right, guys, I'll see you. Have a great one.